Hey everybody, welcome to Windows to Heaven Art Studio. I'm your host Stephen Cooley, and for this video we're going to work on painting a sunset seascape using oils. So let's jump into it and see what we can learn. Alright, so I'm taking my 2-inch brush and I'm applying some yellow here. And I'm basically putting it where I want the horizon line to be. So the bottom half is going to be the foreground. And now I'm taking some orange and I'm just kind of working in some layers, getting darker as I move to the top of the canvas, which I guess I could say is going to be the top of the sky. See, I'm adding some white there in the middle. That's kind of going to be where the light source is going to be situated in the painting. And as you can see, I'm doing a lot of blending. That's what I like so much about oils, is it doesn't dry quick, so that you can just keep on blending until you get it exactly how you want it. And you can see I'm putting in some red, just like I said, making the layers darker as I get towards the top. And you can see I'm sticking in some, I think it was ultramarine blue up there in the top corner. And notice also that I'm creating the sky so that the light source is actually kind of coming in more from the right side of the horizon. So it's going to be darker towards the left of the painting. And I'm just doing a lot of blending until I get the background the way I want it. And there's no rush, of course, because the paint doesn't dry very quick. I love that so much about oils. You can see I'm also going for a little bit of a darker sky, so I added some more red in there. And basically I'm just kind of fooling around until I get exactly what I want. There's so many different ways you could do a painting like this. So just work at it until you get it the way you want it. Now you can see I'm testing out the sky with some clouds. This is pretty early on, and I didn't really like the clouds too much, so I kept working with the background sky. But that's another thing that I have to point out that is so cool about oils, is if you don't like it, it's very easy to change it, especially in this early stage of just doing the background sky. So yeah, it's just like you guys always hear me say, if I don't like it, I just change it and I wait until I get something that I absolutely like, because I have something in my mind that I want it to look like, and if it doesn't get there, then I don't keep it. And often it's based on a reference photo, so I know how it should look, and I just keep playing with it until I get something that I know I want to keep. It's definitely true that oils are very forgiving. At least with the short amount of experience I've had with oils, I've found that to definitely be true. That oils are very forgiving. If you make a mistake, you can very easily change it. You can see I'm adding in some more yellows and blending it out, because I want the tone to be just right. Now you can see I'm taking kind of like a dark purple color, and I'm putting in some more clouds, testing it out, see if I like it. You can see towards the horizon over there on the right, I'm making the clouds more of an orange color. That adds a really cool effect, that the ones, you know, that I'm making the orange color more towards the horizon are farther away, and the darker ones are kind of closer to the viewer, you know, and higher up in the painting. So there you see that I've been working with some of the clouds, getting something I like. And it's so different, in my opinion, doing clouds with oils as opposed to doing clouds with acrylic, because oil paints kind of slide around and blend so easy. You really have to compensate for that, but it can really be to your advantage as well if you do it right. You can see there that I've got the clouds finally the way I want them. It took a little bit, but I used the same concept and got the shapes that I liked and the colors that I liked. You can see I'm still working on doing some highlights and some more shading with those clouds. They're not quite done yet. There'll be a few more effects that we'll put into it. You can see I'm adding some lighter, more vibrant, warm colors towards the bottom of the clouds where the sunset is hitting them. And I used a reference photo for these clouds and for this sky because I wasn't quite confident doing clouds with oils, so I wanted to make sure that I had a reference photo to work off of. And that was very helpful on so many levels. And you can see that I'm making the clouds more blended and smaller and lightly colored towards the bottom of the horizon there. That's because they're so far away. And all those things work together to create a depth and a distance to those clouds. I'm just highlighting the bottom of that cloud as well with kind of some orange and some yellow. I don't want to go too crazy though, because I don't want to lose the blending from the red to the purple that I have underneath. I'm just highlighting that red and a little bit of that purple area with those colors. And now I am taking a finer, more detailed brush, and I'm taking kind of like a creamy white color mixed with a little bit of that yellow, and I'm adding some outlines on the tops of the clouds, and it adds a nice cloud effect. Helps them stand out, I think, against the background sky even better doing that. And that's really fun because you can kind of imagine the shape of the clouds when you're doing that as well. And now you can see I am taking some darker purple and I'm just kind of sticking it in the middle of that cloud there on the left just to make it look bigger and darker. And then here, I wasn't planning on doing that. I think it's a little different from the reference photo maybe, but I took kind of like an orangish yellow color and I stuck in some very distant highlights as if the background sky really far away has like this huge dome of clouds way up there that are getting a little bit of that sunset light. And as I move farther towards the light source on the horizon at the bottom, I'm taking a fine detailed brush and I'm using white instead of just yellow to highlight, because it's closer to the light and it makes sense doing it that way. Now I'm putting in the ocean, and I'm basically, at this point, I'm just making it kind of a fiery sunset color that I can, shade a little bit later. And the tricky part, honestly, with doing this was getting the horizon line straight. I didn't, some people can, put tape on the canvas just to make sure, but I didn't do that. So I actually took a ruler and I measured it and just made sure that the horizon line was generally the same exact measurement all the way across. And that worked out pretty good. Other than that, I just eyeballed it. Now I'm adding some more color into the ocean, and I'm using the same shading techniques I did with the sky, the farther away from the light source you get, the darker the water. And you don't have to worry about where land meets water at this point, because all that comes in later when you decide where the breaking waves are going to be. And back there you can see I'm putting in some distant land, kind of like a shoreline. And I'm kind of using the same technique that I did with the clouds, where the farther away they get, the more like the sky they're going to look. The lighter they'll be. And the closer that they get to the foreground, they're going to be darker and bigger. It's basically the same effect that I did with the clouds employed on the land. I remember wiping some of that paint off because it wasn't the right color and I didn't want to get it too muddy up there. So I just wiped it off with, I think, a paper towel and put in more of a purple color in that closer land. And now I'm kind of blending it out just so that it's kind of obscure in the background. I don't want there to be too much detail everywhere. And because the sky has a lot of detail, that means that the detail that I put into the rest of the painting can't be like everywhere. It's got to complement each other. I don't want there to be detail everywhere so that when your eye looks at it, you don't know what thing to look at first. I want your eye to be drawn into a specific area. And for me in this painting, that was kind of in the distance. So I'm gonna try to keep it more simple in the foreground. I'm not gonna put a lot of detail in. There might be some, but I'm not gonna really add any, big rocks on the shore or anything. It's just gonna be a nice kind of quiet beach, not too much going on. And you can see I'm sketching out the beach right now with kind of a dark purple. But really the sky is going to take up a lot of that detail. There's only so much detail that I like to put into a painting, because otherwise it just gets to be too much. And the sky took up, I'd say, probably about 50% of the detail I wanted to have in the painting. And you can see that I sketched out the beach the way I wanted it. That was really cool because the oil paint was still wet. All I really had to do was take a clean brush and just kind of smudge away some of the paint where I thought the water, should go in the waves and everything. And if I didn't like it and I wanted to change something about it, which in this case I did, I would just blend the paint back out and it would look the same as before, and then I would just kind of make the tweaks, that I wanted to make. It was kind of like using a pencil and eraser. And that was really nice to be able to do. And now you can see I'm adding more definition to the water. I did use a reference photo for the beach as well. Several, I think, actually. And it really helped me know how to do things. It's basically like looking at a map. And you're able to learn all the quicker when you do that. So reference photos are so nice. You can see I'm shading with basically the same purple that I did the clouds with. Using a lot of the same colors. Alright, now you can see that the water's starting to come alive. At this point, you're just building detail, and you're starting to build the water tones and the shape of the waves it's really cool because with acrylic, which is what I'm used to, you have a time limit because it's going to dry. But with oil paint, you can let all of that go and really take your time because there's no way it's going to dry on you unless you wait, a few days. So that's really, really nice not to have that time constraint that you do with acrylic. And both acrylics and oils have their pros and cons, but I really like that fact, that that factor with oils. You can see I also looked up in the sky there, and I had this idea that it would be cool to have kind of like a distant, really high up cloud bank kind of swooping across the sky, and I highlighted it with some yellow. And also, you might have noticed that I added some ultramarine blue into the left side of those closer waves just to add a little bit more shadow. So it's not just purples and reds and oranges and yellows and white. There's going to be some blue as well. Yep, so I'm just continuing to work some blue in there. Adding in some different colors like that in the paintings I've done, I found that it just really adds interest. So don't be worried too much about your colors, just so long as they're not too crazy. You can be pretty free with your colors. I don't think too much about them unless something starts to look off. Also, it's worth mentioning when you're doing the sky, you have the yellow towards the horizon, and maybe it fades off into like a dark blue at the top of the canvas. If you accidentally blend some yellow with that blue, because both of those colors are going to be in the sky, you'll end up with green because oils don't dry. They just keep blending. It's kind of I think it's kind of easier to do that anyway, painting with oils, because you have both colors in your sky and they're still wet, so you kind of have to make sure that you don't blend them because it causes a green, and it can ruin the color scheme that you're going for, especially in a painting like this. So that's why there is red between the yellow and the blue. You can see I'm adding in more I don't even know what those things are called. I don't know what those wave things are called that are really far up on the beach. But yeah, I'm putting those in. I'm putting rocks in, you can see. And that's not too hard. You just use white across the base color that you already have for the sand, and it creates the look of sand that is reflecting the sky color, and also sand that's wet and that's got like a thin layer of water over it. Now you can see I am taking some white and blending in some like some foam and different areas of water detail. Shows the motion and the direction of the waves. I think it's called spume. It's another word for like that frothy look. I like adding that in, but I'm not putting as much of it in this time because the water and the sea here is more of a calm sea, so it's not going to be creating as much of that spume. Highlighting the ocean farther away towards the horizon, and I'm using white and kind of like a lemon yellow as well And now I'm working on the eye a little bit. You can see I'm taking some fine shadow color and kind of putting it in the wave there, more outlining the wave, and then also taking a yellow and really working on the eye of the wave there. And it's so easy to do because oils blend so nicely. You just stick the paint on and blend it out. Now I'm working on the foam up there on that breaking wave. I also didn't like the shape of where that water kind of went in, so I just kind of erased it with some red. And at this point, I was stepping back 6 feet or so every so often and just kind of looking at it for a while. And then I would find something that I'd wanted to add, and then I would step back in and add it, and I just did that over and over again, and that really helped me know what the painting needed. You can see I tried putting some spots of foam on the wave there, and that looked, I liked that, but remember, I don't want to put too much detail into the water. And there you can see I tried putting a sun into the background there. I was just trying out different things. I thought it looked cool, and I kind of left it, I think, for a little while and worked with it. But eventually I just thought, I don't want to have a sun back there. It's kind of too much. So I took it out, and now I'm working in the water again. Maybe in your painting you want one. I just decided I didn't want it for this one. So yeah, we're getting really close to being done now. You can see the water looks a lot better. I like the color. It makes it kind of look like it is a really clear water. And the ocean, if it's a calmer sea, it probably will look a lot more clear. So just play around with it for a while, and you learn as you go. In my opinion, if you spend a lot of time working on a painting, trying different things, and then changing it again, it's not a waste of time. It is all experience. That's how you learn. That's how I've learned over the years painting, is just by trying different things out. And then you can see now I am blending a lot of that detail out in the water, just because it was starting to get a little busy, and I wanted to steer clear of too much busyness in this painting. I want everything to work together and complement itself. I don't want there to be a friction of competing detail in my painting. Sometimes that's hard because you might like to do sky and you might like to do water, and it's really hard to not just pack as much into both of those as you can. If you leave a little bit out of the sky, keep it simple, you can focus a little more on the water. If you want to focus more on the sky, leave a little bit more detail out of your water, and it creates a nice balance to your colors and your detail. And I looked at the left side of the water there, and I realized it needed to be a little darker. So I added in some ultramarine blue and blended it into the water there, which is basically like a purple. You can see I'm sticking some more in there. And I'm blending it out with I think a filbert brush. And now I am putting in some seagulls. And that's going to be with a very fine tipped brush and some white. I believe I put some linseed oil in that white to help it flow a little better. And I think we can call it good. Okay, so we're finished with the painting. And I think the most important thing to take away from the video is use reference photos. So sometimes when you're painting, it's really hard to know how it should look. You have an idea in your head that you want to go for, but the exact execution of how to make it look right is sometimes kind of hard to just work from your own mind without a reference photo. So reference photos are really helpful because they show you how something should look generally. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a like and subscribe for more painting videos. I try to do a video every week or so. And make sure to check out my website where I have a lot of these paintings that I do for sale in canvas prints. There's a link to the website in the About section of this channel, so click on that and there'll be a link. You just click on the link and it'll take you directly to the website. Otherwise, you can look up windowstoheavenart.etsy.com. That's windowstoheavenart.etsy.com. And until next time, we'll see you later.